Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Jerry.
This is draw 17, Saturday morning, 9 o'clock. It's the last full game in the championship series. After this draw we'll declare the four finalists in each of the women's and men's sections and move on to the semifinal games this afternoon. The still have a number of decisions to make. We know who the four teams are going to be on the men's side. We just don't know what order they're going to finish, so we have some important games. This one that we're broadcasting this morning between Saskatchewan and Alberta is one of those important games to determine who finishes first, second, and third. The women's side, they still have to play these four games to determine who is in the top four positions and what positions they're in. So we have a Saskatchewan and Alberta game. Typically over the past week we've seen that it's been a low-scoring game whenever Saskatchewan's playing. Talked to Jimmy before the game started, and I suggested that he play a very aggressive game, and he just laughed at me. So I don't think it's going to change.
Yeah, good luck with that. But they're very precise. They're a defense-first team. We always think that there are basically four types of teams from a strategy perspective. You're either a defense-first team, an offense-first team, or a blended attack team. And definitely the boys from Prairie Land are a defense-first team. And that can be a bit of a challenge, of course, in a four-rock environment, but they play it very well, and it's all about the final score that really matters. Saskatchewan is doing their best to try to turn that into an offense first end. They've put up a corner guard. They'll try to use that as soon as they possibly can. At least they should. We've talked about this before, haven't we, Jerry?
That's right.
If you're going to put up a corner guard, use it. If you're not going to use it, don't play it.
So Jim Wilson has indicated he wants to tap that rock into the rings.
This is Daryl Eddingfield, the lead for Saskatchewan. And the team from Saskatchewan are from the Unified Curling Club. What city is that in Saskatchewan?
Just out of Saskatchewan. Just out of Saskatoon.
Saskatoon.
Yeah.
Saskatoon. That's right up there with Chilliwack. Saskatoon.
So they tapped that rock. It's a little bit heavy, tapped it to the back 12 foot, but it is behind a guard. So we have two guards out front and one in the rings. We've only thrown four rocks.
And I would say right off the hop, we definitely have two different styles here. So this is going to be a very interesting contest.
And we have another left-handed thrower out here for you, Bill.
And therefore, we will refer to the rotations as?
Clockwise and counterclockwise. So he's trying to hit and roll off the center one into the rings.
Dale Kohlenberg, second player for Saskatchewan. That's a good prairie name, Kohlenberg. Like that.
So we're got a corner guard, a center guard, and Saskatchewan is going around that center guard. Maybe Jim did listen to me when I talked to him before.
Well, did you cross his palm with any shekels?
I don't have any shekels.
The boys from Red Deer asked me to say hello to everyone in Red Deer. We know you're all up at 7 o'clock in the morning to watch this game. And one particular wife is parenting with the grandchildren, so it might be a bit of a challenge for you to see the game. We know how much fun that is.
So a draw around the center guard, a little heavy. It's about to the back 12. BC Skip is asking for a little hit and roll on top of the other one.
And of course, we're coming to you from the Guelph Curling Club in the heart of southern Ontario. I grew up just down the road in Kitchener-Waterloo, so you can blame those people.
So he made the double takeout. The rock rolled into the open. Skip Jim Wilson's asking his third to remove that rock. Little hit and roll out. Opportunity now for Alberta to come around that center guard.
And this is Keith Glover, the third for the Albertans, and I had the pleasure of taking he and his team, the Rob Armitage team, to the World Senior Curling Championships in Fredericton, where they brought home the gold medal for Canada. Keith is a retired firefighter and very much the spiritual leader of any team he plays on.
The boys are working this down. It's the line looks really good if he's got enough weight to get it there. Into the top 12 foot. Partially buried. A double pump. Don't know what weight double pump is, but
we're going to find out here. You can see just a little bit more than half of the rock. Oh, he's close to that guard.
Yeah, just crashed on the guard.
But execution tolerance, it opens it up. The Green Riders have last rock advantage here in the first end of this very important championship pool game. As Jerry said, this is for first place and everything that goes with it. And what does go with first place, Jerry?
Well, they get to play the fourth place team.
That's it, eh?
That's it.
Okay.
No 1-2 games, no free games.
Now, there's no accommodation for any tiebreaker games. I'm guessing?
The if teams are tied at the end of the round robin and the championship series, the first thing goes to who beat who. And if that doesn't decide it, then they will go to last stone draw, LSD they call it, and that's the draws to the button that they've used all week. So we run the guard back into it, made contact, but left the Alberta rock in play. And again, Alberta was going to go around that center guard.
Now, in this event, for the last stone draw, it's just one member of the team drawing one shot, two members, a clockwise, counterclockwise?
Two members of the drawing, throwing the same turn.
Ah, okay. A relatively recent innovation to deciding last rock advantage, and certainly it has its positive attributes. One of the downsides, and we've talked about this before, is that so many teams focus so much on the draw to the button, and we certainly understand that, but to the detriment of learning the sheet from sideboard to sideboard, and sometimes critical shots in first end, nobody's delivered a rock out there and they don't have a clue what the rock might do. So that's the downside. So especially the junior teams out there, you might want to consider your pregame warm-up to learn what you think you need to know and position your the parts of your pregame warm-up to give you that information. And that's true for everyone.
The it's really important from that perspective to sit down with your team and practice your pregame warm-up.
Choreograph it and practice it, right?
To know what you're doing before you get to that event.
Time it. The office is open when you step on the ice, and the pregame warm-up, practice, training, whatever you want to call it, is a part of the game. You don't want it to be haphazard.
Now, given the other side of that, a very famous coach wrote an article that says that draw to the button could be worth 2 points.
It could be.
That was you, wasn't it?
Was it? I seem to remember something like that. And we see an attempted run back, yellow, yellow, red, and it was successful by Skip Wilson. Of the famous Wilson brothers of days gone by, at Briars with their straw brooms, and one of the most powerful front ends with brooms that we ever saw. But of course, they're from Saskatchewan, for which curling is their provincial sport, their designated official provincial sport. And in the spectator gallery, we have Sherry Anderson, the wife of which player? Oh,
Third.
The third, Mr. Coben. And of course, Sherry is the newly minted Canadian senior women's champion.
8-time Scotties participant.
And they will participate in the World Championships actually in 2018. We don't know where that's going to be, and I'm looking forward to being there with them. This year, the Senior Worlds are in Lethbridge in a couple of weeks. So it's interesting that the senior champions really get to train for 13 months.
Very unusual situation. And why is that, Bill?
Well, it's just because when the Canadian Championship is held, the Canadian Championship is in March and the World Championships are in April, and the turnaround would be kind of unrealistic. So hopefully teams take advantage of that 13 months. They're a national team. I certainly make myself available to them. And, for example, the boys from Ottawa that I'll be taking to Lethbridge, I've made a couple trips into Ottawa and worked with them for a day to get to know one another. And it's interesting, at the senior level, a lot of them have gone through very illustrious careers, never had a coach. So it's an interesting situation for me to be associated with a team, and I try to stay out of their way. And I'm serious about that. That's not an offhand remark. I try to give them just enough to help and stay out of their way.
So we had last shot here for Mr. Wilson, a little tight, crashed on the guard, and we have an early lead for Alberta.
These, of course, are 8-end games. We're used to seeing 10-end games on television. So it's 8 ends like the slams. And speaking of television, the boys from St. John's are going to take the Canadian colors into the gold medal game tomorrow in Edmonton, defeating Sweden last night in the 1-2 game. And what a show they are putting on.
Unreal. Okay, we're getting ready to start the second end. Alberta is taking a 2-0 lead. Not a typical first end for the Saskatchewan boys.
No, it was not. As we said off the top, Jim likes to keep it pretty open. And it was certainly, it appeared to be a game plan, a first end game plan for the boys from Red Deer to try to promote a scoring opportunity by putting rocks in the free guard zone, and it paid off for them.
And we have another tight guard again. Jim Wilson is indicating very dramatically that he wants that rock in a corner guard position. Down too early, game on.
This is the Saskatchewan lead, Daryl Eddingfield. With a counterclockwise rotation into a corner guard position. And we'll see how Jim makes use of that corner guard.
It often sits out there lonely.
Well, and we've said this all week, that when you are the team without last rock, you want to close the scoring area down. That's why the Alberta team put up their guard on the center line. They're drawing into the forefoot. And Skip Wilson from Saskatchewan with last rock wants to play to the side of the sheet and open up the scoring area. And that's a very typical strategic battle that takes place end after end after end. And we'll see who wins that battle. Now this rock sliding to the back of the house, and once the rock goes to the back of the house, if the team without last rock, that can be used by the team with last rock, and that's what Jim is doing.
The other option at this point in time would have been to come around that corner guard.
And you and I would have done that. I know we would have. Because that rock at the back of the house can be used at any time. That corner guard may not be there.
No. It's a little heavy,
just heavy.
Through the rings, and so he didn't get the curl he was expecting.
All of our live stream games have been on sheet 4, so we know the sheet pretty well.
Yeah.
And it is release and weight sensitive, as championship ice should be. And you saw the result of a rock that was a little bit heavy. And of course, it's not going to curl as much.
Some of the curlers have been talking about the ice this week. It's been a little bit difficult to handle. You've seen it on TV last night. The frost that came out there in Edmonton. We've seen it in the Tournament of Hearts this year. And all of it was from the same thing. We've had a lot of moisture, a lot of rain. The humidity gets up in the building and really affects the ice. It slows down, changes the curl. And we've had 4 seasons here this week at this championship.
Well, especially on Thursday, we had 4 seasons in one day.
So the ice keeper has been working very hard to manage this situation. And we've got a bright and sunny weekend, so we're hoping for great ice conditions for the weekend.
Saskatchewan's looking for a takeout and a roll in behind the center line guard, but was a little bit inside, might have curled a little bit more than Skip Wilson thought it might, and rolled into an open position kind of at about 4 o'clock in the 8-foot.
It is shot rock. It's probably edge on with the corner guard that Saskatchewan put up there. So Fred Armstrong is asking his second to come down and remove that rock. Boys are just gently cleaning it. Beautiful shot, hit and rolled behind the corner.
Now this is interesting because we've got an Alberta rock that's behind the tee line, which is, as Jerry said, behind the corner guard. So certainly a call here could have been to go around that corner guard, because then Saskatchewan would have cover and backing.
Yeah.
But Jim has not decided to do that. As you can see, he's going to try to play that shot to the Alberta rock that's at the back of the 8-foot, kind of at the 630 position. So he's going to make use of those Alberta stones that are behind the tee line. Around the guard.
Just tapped it back. Shot rock buried. Still behind the tee line.
This side of the sheet's getting a lot of play here in the second end of this championship pool game, the last game of the championship pool. These two teams are vying for first place, so it's important to both.
They're working hard to get this by. Crashes on the front guard. So now Mr. Wilson has an opportunity.
Oh, there we go. Here's the shot. Round the corner guard to the backing.
Yep, I like this call.
Like it a lot. Thought it might have happened a little bit earlier.
Just watching it come in. Line looks good. Weight looks good.
Very nice. Very nice.
So you can see Saskatchewan is lying 2 rocks. The one is partially behind the guard with the reverse guard. The shot rock is in the back forefoot.
Fred Armstrong is asked. He tapped his hip, which is usually sort of a board up weight. Now he's trying to remove that yellow Saskatchewan rock but avoid the jam. Well, he got the jam, but certainly he's now in a shot position. So now Jim Wilson's faced with the same dilemma.
So Alberta shot rock. Saskatchewan's second shot. Third shot is Alberta, and then there's 2 other rocks that are pretty close. I'm not sure which they are. So a nice shot by Saskatchewan. Colin Coben. Just tap that back. So now Saskatchewan sitting 2.
And I couldn't see it as accurately from my viewpoint, but did they get a little bit of an inside roll on that?
It's probably edge on.
And again, a tap of the hip by third Keith Glover would indicate something of a firm board weight for his skip. Now we're seeing very entertaining ends.
Yeah, this is great.
It's going to be an exciting sports weekend this weekend. We've got the playoffs at the World Men's Curling Championship in Edmonton. We've got the Masters. And then, of course, the big event is tomorrow right here in Guelph for the gold medal games of the Canadian Masters.
That's available for you on Rogers TV and also on Facebook /Rogers Guelph.
And Fred Armstrong split that rock out of the house, did his job. There was nothing else that he could really do with it.
So now they're determining where they want this rock to go. They know what turn they're doing and what ice they're taking. It's a matter of weight, how far they want to bring this into the rings. The first indication was they wanted to come back onto that red rock.
Well, they know if they do that, probably Fred Armstrong from Red Deer will follow it down and might take the end away that way. Depends. This is all about rock placement, and we talked about that yesterday, that in the final analysis at the competitive and elite level, it is all about rock placement. Counterclockwise rotation draw. Skip Jim Wilson from the Unified Curling Company. Curling Company. What is this? Curling Club outside Saskatchewan. And again, I'm kind of blocked out here right behind the boys. It looks like I'm coming right to the tee line, slightly behind. And the fact that it's behind the tee line makes a huge difference, because one of the options certainly for the Alberta team is to come down and freeze to that, especially if they could get just slightly across the nose. But not with that ice, so it looks like it's rock removal in some fashion. And again, I'm suggesting it's probably firm board.
So this team is from Unity, Saskatchewan.
Unity.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like an F here.
I know. And Unity, Saskatchewan is just a short drive west of Saskatoon.
Okay, that
by Saskatchewan turns, which is 200 kilometers.
Yeah, right. Saskatchewan. Well, thanks, Sherry Anderson, for that information. Unity. Well, it looked like Unify. So Unity is the name of the town. Thank you.
Okay, so we have a situation here with Alberta line 1, a nice stone, but an opportunity for Jim Wilson from Saskatchewan to remove that stone. If he can curl just by that front guard, he might be able to get 3. If he hits it a little bit high side, he probably still scores 2.
I think he'll take the 2. I don't think he'll risk the 3, because, boy, if he wrecks, then he's going to be down 3. So this is a really important shot. And it looks like back ring weight. Boy, that's not a lot of ice for back ring weight, but we saw so many rocks come down that spot. It is relatively straight. And again, we made the comment that it is release-sensitive ice. So
you watch Jim here. He was a little tight in his last one, gave up to steal a 2. Oh, good rotation. Certainly wasn't narrow.
He's got more than back ring weight, Jerry.
Yeah, he does.
But he's going to make contact, that's for sure. Well, actually, the weight looked pretty.
Whoa! Beautiful shot.
Is that any good?
Beautiful shot.
Well, it's those Green Rider fans again.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's a great shot.
Nice bounce back for Saskatchewan. Picked up 3 on that end to take the lead. And there's 2 people sitting here with headsets on that are very happy with this game today.
This is great stuff.
Lots of good shots, lots of offense going on here.
We might not even need a trivia contest this time.
We might not, no.
Oh, but we will.
Well.
I got one already.
I mean, we have Saskatchewan out here, and that's my home province.
It is.
So. Not that I have any favorites or anything behind the microphone.
Oh, no. No.
But when you're from Saskatchewan, you always bleed green no matter where you live. So we're starting end 3.
We have interesting background noise here today. And again, we see that battle. The team from Alberta this time with Last Rock going to play to the side of the sheet. Saskatchewan wants to play to the center of the sheet.
Daryl Eddingfield really wanted to throw a red rock, but they're yellow, so he changed his mind.
What happens if you deliver the wrong color, Jerry?
You just let the stone finish to the other end, and then you call a officials timeout, and replace the rock with the other color.
We have two officials here from the Ontario Curling Association, Kathy and Bill. There have been no fist fights, so they haven't had that to deal with.
No, it's been a pretty good. And both Bill and Kathy have done a number of national events, and Bill's done some international events, so they're very experienced officials.
The Albertans are going to try to open up that center portion of the ice with a run back or an opening peel shot. I think it's curling too much for the run back. Oh, very close. Oh,
No,
yeah,
got
he did.
it. Got it.
He got it. But then again, he leaves his rock in the center, so it's not all that bad for Saskatchewan. They've got something to work with. They've got a centerline guard. But too close to the house, and we've talked about this yesterday, when you're close to the top of the house, there's kind of an invisible rectangle that we call the control zone. And yesterday in one of the games, there were a number of takeouts back and forth to make sure that the opposition didn't have control of that zone. That invisible rectangle, kind of 2 feet wide and 3 feet long, and whoever controls that zone early in the end will very likely control the end in the latter stages. So we see that little battle take place, and we're seeing it right now.
So he requested hit little roll towards the center, and that's exactly what happened.
Oh, I think we're going to... Oh, he thought about it. He thought about coming around the short side, around the corner guard. Jerry and I, we really like that shot.
Yeah. You can see why these teams are at the top of the standings. They're very good deliveries they are executing. And just as I say that, we have an overcurl, roll out, and an opportunity for Saskatchewan. Now, will he peel the guard?
That's the dangerous rock. This Jim Wilson, he's played before. This is the right call. I have great respect for recreational curlers. They're the heart and soul of our sport. But so many recreational curlers would go around that. Not necessarily the wrong call, but it is a more dangerous call. The right call is to remove this rock with a peel. But of course, the person in the house has to be able to throw that shot, and I don't think that's what happened here.
Just a little bit of a bad release and overcurled.
Here we go, Jerry. Here's our shot.
This is the outside in draw around the corner guard.
Now, why would you come around what we refer to as the short side, in this case, the clockwise rotation? Why is that such a good tactic to go around this corner guard?
If he makes this shot anywhere close to where he needs to, it eliminates a roll to the center. Takes the center out of play. Line looks really good.
And how deep is it going to be? Wants to be in front of the tee line, hopefully. No, it's going behind. Ooh, 12 foot. Well, we're still in the paint.
But Jim Wilson's going to take advantage of this. Working this rock. It's breaking as it gets to the center line.
And again, we see rocks behind the tee line. This is where it gets interesting. And this is why. You see the call that Fred Armstrong is giving his team. This is Keith Glover, his third. Counterclockwise rotation. Come to that yellow rock that's in the 8 foot at about 11 o'clock. Hog to hog times have been around 14 seconds.
They have been. They've slowed down a little bit sometimes when the frost creeps in.
Pretty nice shot by Mr. Glover on the tee line. As they say in German, sieben. And that refers to the number system made famous by the Furby 4, 1, 2, 3 in the free guard zone. And then 4, 5, 6, 7 being the tee line, 8, 9, 10, 11 to the back of the house.
So this one's just behind the tee line. They're asking Mr. Coben to come down on top of that. His line looks really good. Just tap it back a little bit. Sitting shot rock. Just ahead of the tee line, behind the center guard.
We are getting entertaining ends. We hope you're enjoying it wherever you are. I suppose anybody in the world can see this if they tune into this live stream.
Anybody in the world, yep.
Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Where in the world are Jerry and Bill? Well, we're at the Galt. Oh, gee. Well, that's just down the road,
That's just down the road. We have a team from the Galt Curling Club here, so.
We're at the Guelph Curling Club in Southern Ontario, Canadian Masters Championship weekend.
So Alberta has requested Mr. Glover to throw that one down there and try to move that one off. And he's successful. So Alberta is again shot rock, but the situation is the same. This rock's wide open, and now Saskatchewan are determining what they want to do with this. It indicates Jim Wilson has indicated he wants to hit this rock and roll to the left side of the sheet, which would leave him sitting 3.
And again, the score here is Saskatchewan 3 and Alberta 2 in the third end. Great 3 scored by the boys from the Unity Curling Club, just outside Saskatoon.
Just a short drive, 200 kilometers west of Saskatoon. They call Saskatchewan Big Sky Country.
They call Saskatchewan a lot of things. Well, he's going to make contact with the red rock, that's for sure. But is he going to jam it? Whoa. These boys came to play, Jerry.
They did. That was another great shot by Jim. I think he missed his last shot in the first end, got his dander up a little bit, and he's focused, and he's playing now. So now BC is looking at 3 Saskatchewan rocks. They're all behind the tee line. And Alberta has last rock. So it's a situation still well within their control. So he's calling for a hit on the one at the back button. And he would like to roll to the left side of the sheet behind the corner guard.
As with most every curling shot, this is all about line and weight. You can hit the broom, but if you throw the wrong weight, you're going to miss the shot. And you can throw the right weight and miss the broom and miss the shot. It's always weight and line. I'm new to this sport, Jerry, but I've learned that lately.
Yeah, well, that's good. Good we can teach you early. The weight looks good. The line looks good. Excellent shot.
Yeah, wow. But seriously, I get that question asked of me a lot if I'm doing for want of a better term, a club clinic, which is more important, the line or the weight. Now, this is just my opinion. And for recreational curlers, it really is more important to deliver the weight that the skip has asked for. If you're a little bit tight, a little bit wide, well, we can perhaps deal with that. But when I ask that question of skips, which would you rather have? Somebody who hits the brush right up the middle, and sometimes light, sometimes heavy, or somebody that gives you the weight you've asked for? Inevitably, they ask for the right weight. Best, the combination.
So we've last rock delivered by Jim Wilson. He's playing a draw. Appears to be hanging out a little bit. A little bit heavy. A little bit wide.
And again, behind the tee line, which means it could be useful to Team Alberta, and certainly they will take advantage of that. And that same little check roll to the left is something that would be ideal for Skip Armstrong. He's delivered this rock before, about 3 minutes ago.
So he just needs to come down, tap this one back a foot or so, and he scores 2 points.
Doesn't need the roll.
Doesn't need the roll. We're cleaning this rock down the ice. Line looks really good. And there's a nice little hit for 2 points for Alberta. So after 3 ends of play, we have a score of 4-3 for Alberta.
I had a chance to talk with Al Hackner before the game started this morning, and I asked him a question I've wanted to ask him for quite some time. His iconic shot in the Brier against Pat Ryan, of course, who was playing for Alberta at that Brier. In his shot where he played a very thin double and made the shot, and there was a guard that appeared to make it more complicated, and when I would show that shot in clinics and camps and seminars, my contention was that the guard actually helped him make the shot. And so I had that confirmed this morning. I said, Al, of course, if you had wrecked on the guard, you were going to miss the shot anyway. And he said, Bill, that's how we played the shot. We played just to miss the guard. And if we knew if we just missed the guard, we had a really good chance to make the shot. So how you conceptualize the shot is really important. So he really wasn't looking at the target stone. It was the rock that ostensibly made it look complicated, and it actually made it a little easier. So I thanked him for that information. And I wiped my brow that I was giving the people who attended our camps and clinics and seminars. It was a pretty good guess on my part.
But that comes back to your point that the person in the hack needs to focus on line of delivery and weight. If you hit the broom and throw the right weight, that's all you can do.
What a novel idea. Whoa. Hit the brush, throw the right weight, inside execution tolerance, and we'll talk about that perhaps at some point in this game. Those of you who have watched our live stream broadcasts previously know that we mention execution tolerance from time to time because it's one of the 3 benchmarks. If you stay inside execution tolerance when you're able, you enhance the opportunity to win the game.
His pressure does interesting things to curlers. You put curlers under pressure, and they got a big shot they have to make. They sometimes try to make that shot from the hack. And what I mean by that is they'll aim or steer that shot when they let it go, and they'll miss the line and they'll miss the weight and they miss the shot before they even released it.
Yeah, just like a pitcher in baseball. What does the pitching coach or the manager say to a pitcher when he goes out to the mound? And that's frequently what they talk about. The manager or the pitching coach will say, stop aiming the ball, start throwing the ball. And that's what Jerry means. Stop aiming the rock, go back to your delivery of the rock. Well, we see play going towards the edge of the sheet this time. There's a red rock that's just outside of the rings, but that red rock could be very useful for jam purposes, and that's why Skip Wilson played over there. It's going to be in the mind of Team Alberta. Don't jam on that rock. And we see an inside-out takeout attempt here. And rocks are always going to curl more from the center line towards the side of the sheet as opposed to outside in.
A little simpler end this end, Bill. So while we have a few minutes, just give you some updated scores from across the rink. We have Prince Edward Island playing British Columbia on sheet 1. The score after 3 ends of play is 4-1 for Prince Edward Island.
And that's a men's game?
That's a men's game. On sheet 2, again a men's game, we have Ontario playing Newfoundland. Ontario is up in that game 3-1. On ice 3, we have Northern Ontario playing Quebec. Northern Ontario is currently up 5-2 after 3 ends of play. On the other side of the rink, we have the women's games. We have Manitoba playing Saskatchewan. That's an important game for positioning. And after 3 ends of play, that game is tied up as 1-1. On sheet 7, we have Northern Ontario playing New Brunswick. Both of these teams are out of the playoffs, but currently Northern Ontario is up 8-1 after 3 ends of play. On sheet 6, we have a game with playoff implications. Ontario is playing British Columbia, and currently Ontario is up 2-1 in that game. That has playoff implications. As I said, Ontario still has an opportunity to perhaps get first place if they can win that game. And on sheet 5, we have Alberta playing Prince Edward Island. And the score at that game is tied 2-2 after 3 ends.
Alberta in defense mode has split the house, and that's certainly a good strategy for a team without last rock. If you're trying to score points with last rock, if you're going to split the house, you have to make sure you don't do it too early in the end, because if you try to score 2 that way, and again, we've talked about this in previous broadcasts, you're going to have to play 100% all the way to do it, and the most you're going to get is 2, and the other team just has to shoot 50%. One hit and roll out, and they're off the hook. But this works for the team without last rock, in this case, of course, Team Alberta.
So Jim Wilson's calling for the hit and roll on this shot, and
again, we see Fred Armstrong wanting the takeout, but wants to roll to the right and keep some separation between his two rocks. Well, it's not going to stay in the house, I don't think.
yeah, he's got a nice weight.
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yep. Now, because this rock that's over here at about 10 o'clock is ahead of the tee line and the other Alberta stone is behind the tee line, there's an opportunity not so much for a double, but to hit and roll over towards that Alberta rock. And that's what Jim Wilson has asked for here from his third. Hit and roll over. And we see pretty much a hit and stay.
Yeah. That was an outside-in shot down the side of the sheet with a solid weight, and it tends to run pretty straight that way.
So Alberta will attempt to take out and stay right there. They want to keep the rocks separated as much as they can.
This one's curling a little bit.
That is not what Fred Armstrong wants. He does not want those red rocks together. Pretty simple double now.
This gives Jim Wilson an opportunity to blank the end again and carry the hammer onto the fifth end. Now there's two shots yet to come here, but
There'll be some flames coming off the bottom of this rock.
maybe over curling just a hair. He needed to hit it on the right-hand side a little bit more and definitely lose his own shot, but he hit it pretty much in the nose. The red rock stayed in, and so now the Armstrong from Alberta has opportunity to hit that rock and stay and force Saskatchewan.
Not an out-and-out miss, but it certainly wasn't the desired result in any way, shape, or form. So it'd be an interesting call for a statistician. Well, Fred Armstrong, the Red Deer skip, is attempting a takeout, a hit and stay, and force Saskatchewan to one. Looks pretty good. And of course, the blank is not worth the risk in any way, shape, or form. And so it will be a hit and stay for the point, or a little bit of a roll towards the forefoot to tie this game up. Going into the fourth end picnic.
Mm-hmm.
Just cleaning. That's always a good sign.
Yep. Good throw. Score 1. So Saskatchewan ties up that game at 4-4 after 4 ends of play. And we're having a brief, as Bill said, a short break after this end, and then we'll get back to the curling game. Well, back to our game. Fifth end. Tied up 4-4. Alberta has hammer. Saskatchewan asked for a draw to the top 4 foot, and Alberta doesn't like it there, so they're playing a takeout. So, Bill, they have their rest, and they're all refreshed and ready to come out here.
Ready to roll. It's been a great game. Love this. It's tied as it should be.
Yeah, no, we've had good shots on both sides. Lots of offense. The 4 ends left to play, and this is a big game. First place is online here, and first place gets play the 4th place team, plus they get last rock and choice of color. So,
whoa, then it is then it is a big game.
It is a big game, yeah.
For a while we we thought it just did the ranking, but when you start talking about color and
I just
last rock,
just had a little discussion with the officials, and they confirmed that that's the case. So.
And these are the rocks from the Guelph Curling Club. These are not Curling Canada rocks or any provincial associations rocks. These are the rocks that the members use here all the time. The running surfaces were prepared for this championship.
They were. Mildly textured.
Yes.
As the ice crew would like to say.
And they do that so that the game lives up to its name. It's curling, and make the rocks move. And of course, this enhancement procedure is it doesn't last forever, and that's why at the start of a championship you might see rocks curl a little bit more than at the end of the week. And certainly, I think we're seeing that this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's part of the challenge of the game. You take note of this as you work your way across the sheets. Of course, our live stream games have all been on sheet number 4, so we have intimate knowledge of these rocks and this ice. And if a skip wants to know the shot to call, they might want to check with us, and we can throw in our 2 cents worth. And that's all it would be worth is 2
well,
cents.
It is, and one of the games we did, we put our 2 cents in quite a few times. I was talking to the team. They actually listened to our game after the game was over and said, we don't agree with your strategy. We'd do what we did all over again. So
all people have to stand in line to disagree with us.
I said, that's okay. If you're behind the glass, you get to have an opinion. Has no impact on what goes on the ice.
No, it does not.
So we're having a straightforward end. This is what we expected maybe a little bit earlier in the game.
And we see a clockwise rotation takeout, inside out, center line to sideline. Normally this rock would curl a lot, but as we just discussed, the curl is not quite as pronounced.
And he threw firm weight with good rotation, so it runs a little straighter that way. Now while we're running rocks up and down this sheet, I'll take the opportunity to do a little updates on some of the other sheets. On sheet 8, the women, we have Manitoba playing Saskatchewan on that one. And it is a 4-3 lead for Saskatchewan after 4 ends of play. On sheet 7, we have Northern Ontario and New Brunswick that we're playing. That game is over. Score of 10-1 for Northern Ontario. Both those teams are done for the weekend now. They can go shopping. And I didn't see what happened to that rock.
I was laughing at the go shopping line.
Did it pick? I don't know. I didn't see.
Yeah, so we had a miss. So Saskatchewan will again try the.
So that was a burned rock.
Burned rock.
Yeah.
Ah. What is a burned rock, Jerry? What does that mean?
Well, it means one of the players touched the rock and knocked it off its line on the way down the ice. Broom, hand, foot, anything. And that means the rock, if it's burned between the hog lines, they pull it right off the ice. There's no question about it, no decision. The rock just comes off. Everything stays the same.
And inside the hog line, if it's a touched running rock, what happens?
Well, inside the hog line, you let the rock finish on its path, and then the non-offending team has three choices. They can leave the rocks where they are, where they ended up. They can put the rocks back to where they were before the rock came down, or they can put the rocks where they think they might have gone.
And that's why it's really important, if you are the skip or the third or the mate of the team that's not playing, that you pay attention to the rocks that are being delivered by the opposition, because in the case of a touch stationary rock or a touch running rock, the official, or if it's a non-officiated event, the other skip will just turn to you and say, what would you like to do? And you can't have that faraway stare in your eyes. You have to know this stuff.
Yeah. So we have a Saskatchewan rock at the back 12 foot, and we have one at the top 12 foot, might be biting. So Alberta has decided to hit the one in the front. Try to angle him back for the double. And they've hit the one in the front and rolled off.
The Purple Heart is awarded to the men's team that wins the territorial or provincial championship. As they head to the Brier, we see the Purple Hearts, the iconic crest, and one of our trivia questions was about the shape of that crest, the heart, and of course it goes back to the McDonald's Tobacco Company and their premium blend of tobacco, which was called Brier, and there was a silver heart in the round tin and all that sort of thing. But the trivia question is, not all provinces and territories awarded Purple Hearts sort of at the same time. And the trivia question is, which province was the last to award a Purple Heart? So I will give a hint. It was one of the Atlantic provinces.
So we look forward to having your comments there. We have a chat room up. We're watching it. If you have any questions or you have an answer to this trivia question, be sure to send it in.
Or if you just want to tell us we don't have a clue what we're talking about, go ahead.
So we have a reverse situation from last end. This time Alberta has last rock and Saskatchewan is trying to split the rings and force British Columbia to take one.
And what's my favorite line in that situation? Let the force be with you.
Good.
In this case, be with Alberta.
Yeah. So Fred Armstrong's in the hack, getting ready to throw his takeout.
Has the shot rock, but not for long. So Skip Wilson will want to replace that rock, and again, as Jerry said, that would force the Albertans to an attempt for a count of one, and Saskatchewan would have been successful in this end.
Just another update on sheet 6. Ontario is up over British Columbia with a steal of 2 in the fourth end, 4-1 after 4 ends of play.
The Ontario women's team is something of a local team.
There's just Guelph Curling Club, which is in Cambridge, which is just about 20 minutes from here. That's not what Jim wanted to do. Now Alberta has an opportunity to blank this end, retain control coming into the sixth end, an even end, an end which they'd like to score.
It's the little things, the very simple takeout, but Jim had to hit and stay to avoid this situation that Jerry just so accurately described.
Rock's underway, they're just cleaning it on the way down.
Came closer to the nose than he wanted, I suspect.
They were a little worried for a minute, but successfully rolled out of the rings, blank the end. And after 5 complete ends of play, we have a 4-4 tie. British Columbia isn't playing on this sheet. Alberta retains hammer. Just continuing the updates, we have on sheet 3, Northern Ontario playing Quebec after 5 ends of play. Northern Ontario is up 6-3. So Saskatchewan has indicated they want a tight guard in their first shot, cleaning this rock. And it's a foot heavy. So that could have changed the strategy at the end. However, Fred Armstrong, skip of Alberta, indicates that he wants a corner guard. He would like to score 2 on this end.
Oh, yes, he would. With 2 teams of this caliber playing this well, scoring 2 was on the high end of a count. Any 3s would be definitely bonus. So to promote a scoring opportunity, having last rock advantage, Alberta will play to the side of the sheet. And they put that corner guard up.
Saskatchewan will play to the center. Skip Jim Wilson has asked for a tight guard on the center line. Good weight, over curled slightly. Fred Armstrong from Team Alberta has asked for a board weight, hit and roll behind his corner guard.
Line looks good from our perspective.
Sweepers are working it. Looks like it's over curling a little bit. He's going to get the hit, but not the roll. Nice weight. A little bit light, maybe. Asked for board. It's closer to hack weight. That may not seem like much, but that extra 6 feet of weight means a lot when you look at line of delivery and the break point. Break point.
Break point is when the rock really starts to grab onto the pebble and make its move. And it's very important for brushers, especially when you're brushing a draw, that you don't brush through the break point. You let it break for as long as you can to the break point. And once it makes its break, if you feel it's a little bit light, that's when you put most of your effort into it. And studies have shown that the most effective brushing for a draw are in the last 10 seconds of its path anyway.
So if you look at, listen to the games on TV and the skips, where the vices who are down there says, hasn't broke yet, and the sweepers are holding off. All right, there it goes, and then you'll see them pound the rock often.
And that's why they do that. And as I said, we've done some studies. There was a study done at Western University in London just prior to the Vancouver Olympics. And interestingly enough, it was discovered that the most effective way to enhance the distance when you're brushing a draw is to power clean to approximately the hog line and then go hard. Now, the brushers that we're seeing at the most elite level, I mean, they are so fit that there's really not much difference between the first 10 seconds and the last 10 seconds. But certainly if you are a recreational team or a competitive, serious team, and you're not quite at that fitness level, you're much better on a draw, as I said, to power clean to approximately the hog line and then go hard the rest of the way. You will actually take the rock farther than if you jumped all over it, which of course is the intuition. And that's counterintuitive, because usually if it's light, you want to jump all over it right away. You're actually not going to take the rock as far.
So here we have a bit of a miss. Hit and roll out gives Fred Armstrong the opportunity to use that corner guard he placed up there. And he's asked his third to come around that rock. And again, he'll want this rock to stop ahead of the tee line. Schrock's curling, Bill. It's going to be tight. Can they get it by? Yep, it's good. Just wait now.
And speaking of brushing, of course, and we've discussed this in previous live streams, that last year the sport of curling was turned on its ear with directional brushing, with a fabric that was developed that could actually scratch the ice surface and, as the term implied, lay down tracks that the rock would follow. It completely changed the game in a negative direction, I think most all would agree. But now there is compliant material. You'll notice that all of the brushers have a kind of a bright yellow fabric on their synthetic brushes, and that is, as we said, Oxford Nylon 420D from a study that was done in Kempville last summer. And that was the material that was agreed to be used for competitions worldwide. And that's why you see all the brushes with that yellow fabric.
So we've had Saskatchewan. They've made a nice hit and roll. They're looking for another foot of roll would be an ideal, but it was an excellent shot. We have Saskatchewan. Now Fred Armstrong is asking for his third to make a hit and roll back behind that corner card. Little cat and mouse going on here right now.
And the brushing combination here for Alberta, the Moore brothers, will notice that they are brushing gripper slider as opposed to gripper. And again, this was something about which we spoke in a previous live stream. You're much better off if you brush gripper. More downward force, much easier on your knees. You can brush on either side. You recover faster. And most of the elite curlers that brush gripper slider, though, they will say that they judge the weight of the rock a little bit better, and so perfectly understandable.
You see a lot of the elite curlers going back to the gripper slider.
For mere mortals, it's probably better to go gripper. And I'm writing a blog about this right now, and you have to be very careful when you watch elite curling on television, because you're watching athletes who play in a very different competitive environment, and it doesn't translate very well to your club curling to do what they do. Don't get me started.
And I would agree with that. Like I do a lot of a lot of learn to curl programs to help out our curling club here, especially at the beginning of the season. And the last thing you want to do is have a new curler out there with a gripper slider on. You want them to have both grippers on to be as stable as they possibly can be. So all of our learn to curl programs by curl coaches that come out, we're all taught to get that gripper on those people on the ice and teach them how to sweep that way. Much safer. I also teach them the flat foot delivery. If they want to learn tuck, I said, come back and see me in a couple of years.
Well, a balanced flat foot delivery is certainly the way that every person wanting to enjoy this wonderful sport should start, so that they can achieve balance much more quickly and be more consistent. If they want to move to a forward position on their slider, i.e. tuck toe delivery, that's something that can come later. But it's much better to slide balanced flat foot when you start. And we talked about this too. I feel very strongly about people who are just starting the game to use a stabilizer type sliding device as opposed to the brush. And again, once they get comfortable on the ice and can achieve balance, if they want to use their brush as a sliding device, go right ahead. But to start, I'm much more in favor of using a stabilizer if you're a novice curler.
So we've got two guards, a center guard and a corner guard, but we can't get behind one of them until we're see a series of hits come down here, down that middle line. Now the situation we have right now is we have a biter on the top, 12 foot. We have one rock left to come. Jim Wilson, the skip, is going to try to hit and roll. If he hits it in the nose, it's going to be a simple blank for Fred Armstrong from Alberta.
And he does get a bit of a roll.
Not sure if it's in the ring.
But not on the rings, I don't think.
Our camera moved on us a little bit. We can't see that front ring, but from the looks of the ice, he's gone out to the side. Looks like he's going to throw this one through and blank this end.
Any guesses yet on the province that was last to award the Purple Hearts?
No guesses.
Not yet, eh?
No.
It's a province in Atlantic Canada, and I like to call it the best kept secret in Atlantic Canada. Love this province.
So after 6 ends of play, we have another blank end. The score is all tied up at 4 apiece, with Alberta having hammer. And is somebody going to go for it?
Well, it's like that match bicycle race. They're jockeying for position, and who's going to sprint to the finish? Well, hang in there, folks. Hold on to your strohs. And stay with us for the next half hour or so, and we'll find out. The Stroh's Brewing Company, Detroit, Michigan. Ernie Harwell, the longtime Hall of Fame announcer, that was his admonition in the exciting part of the game. He would always say, hold on to your Strohs. Grew up listening to Tiger baseball. One baseball season, I listened to at least a part of every Tiger game. Yeah. Well, of course, at that time, you could either watch the Yankees on television or listen to the Tigers. Now, what would you do?
I was kind of a Dodger fan, actually.
Well, that's okay. The New York Yankees, the evil empire. And this is the start of the baseball season. Apparently the Blue Jays won last night, so they're 1-2. And talk about a marathon. Boy, that's the regular season in baseball.
So we have Saskatchewan putting the center guard up. Good.
And once again, the implications in this game are for first place and all of the benefits that Jerry listed a few minutes ago that go with it. So these boys are serious about this.
They are, absolutely.
So we're down to a 2-end game. Alberta has last rock here in the 7th end. Canadian Masters from Guelph, Ontario.
And Alberta's line 1. And Fred Armstrong from Alberta has asked his lead to throw another one on top. Little over curl here. What's Mr. Wilson gonna do? He's tapped the rock. I don't know if he wants a tap back or a takeout. Looks like a takeout.
Yeah, he gave the shoulder height arm out, so that's
kind of as a double, as opposed to the double pump one.
Ah, yeah, right.
This is a.
I love all the signals that teams have, and your team should have a communication protocol, both visual and verbal.
So they're working hard in this one. And they crash the front guard. Push the one Saskatchewan rock behind the corner guards.
It does rearrange the furniture.
So we have Alberta currently line 1, back 4 foot. And Fred Armstrong, Alberta, has indicated he wants one of the Moore brothers to throw it down there. This would be the left-handed Moore brother. Just the tack weight, backline weight, tack this one through.
And this Moore brother, and I know you can't see it on your screen, but he has a very interesting rock foot position when he's in the hack. I would suggest he's probably opposite side dominant, and probably significantly so, because he places the rock almost past the midline of his body. So when he lines up in the hack, it looks a little strange, but it's all about eye dominance. And so many curlers don't know what their eye dominance is. And if you are same side dominant, right, or left, you don't have to have the rock right in front of your body. If you are opposite side dominant, right-handed left eye, left-handed right eye, then you do need the rock in the front, right in front of your body. So knowing your eye dominance is a key factor in establishing your rock and foot relationship. It's a very simple test.
So we had a miss on Alberta. Little wide, a little bit too much weight, not sure which, but it was a drive-by, and now we have Saskatchewan playing a hit in the back one. He successfully hit and rolled to the other side of the ring, Saskatchewan lane 2. So this game's pretty complicated.
Well,
if you want to play it well at top level.
It's not so much complicated. It's just information that you should know, because knowing the information actually makes the game easy then. And the relationship between your body and your hack foot and the rock is important. Maybe not for a person that's just starting the game, but you don't have to get very far into it with this knowledge. And that's why you seek out a certified instructor, because they'll know this information.
So good rock. Excellent. Made that hit and rolled over to the center.
The Guelph Curling Club, speaking of instructors, was the longtime host of the Trillium Curling Camp, which is celebrating its 25th year this summer. And the Guelph Curling Club was a wonderful host for many, many years.
Of course, the Trillium Camp has 100 athletes came in, men and women, for a 7-day period, be trained by the best coaches in the world. We've had coaches from all over Canada and Germany come here to coach this, and then they also have high-performance athletes come in and help with the coaching. So it's a wonderful program. Runs 2 weeks long, 200 athletes come in and do it.
And it's all the vision of Jim Waite from St. Thomas. Many years Canada's men's team leader and one of the iconic instructors in this sport, coach, instructor, and somebody that I see as a mentor. If I need to run past something, a concern that I have, I usually call Jim first. And I think Jim was here earlier in the week.
Yeah, Jim's been here a couple times.
Yeah.
Well, I was very fortunate. After I retired from my real job, I managed this Guelph Curling Club for 5 years and got to be a part of the Trillium Camp for that 5 years, and got to know Jim very well and met a lot of the coaches. There's a young girl, she was a young girl. She ended up with an Olympic gold medal, who came to the curling camp here from Manitoba, Caitlin Laws.
Caitlin Laws, yes. I knew Caitlin's dad, Keith. Wonderful man. No longer with us, unfortunately. And every time I see Caitlin, I say, oh, your dad would be so proud of you. She's just a wonderful athlete and has become a real ambassador to our sport on television. You see her on commercial announcements for Rocks and Rings. Of course, part of the Jennifer Jones team.
And perhaps a little known fact is another person by the name of Andrea Laws, who's also a world championship.
That's right. Yep, and that would be Caitlin's half-sister.
Yep.
And at the time, along with who was Andrea's brushing partner? They were the preeminent front-end brushers, and men or women. They were. Andrea was an unbelievable athlete and brusher, and she taught me something. And when she was here at the Trillium Curling Camp one time, when an athlete in my group said, when you're having a bad game, Andrea, what do you do? And her answer was, you do everything you can to make sure your teammates have a great game. You completely remove yourself from the equation, and you'll get yourself back on track. And if 4 people do that, if 4 people do everything they can to make sure their teammates have a great game, you will become greater than the sum of your parts. Best advice I ever heard.
So it's Jim Wilson threw his first rock, a nice hit and tap back of a rock that was edge on for a corner guard. Now Fred Armstrong has indicating to his third that he wants to hit and roll behind that corner guard in his attempt to score 2 this end. Just getting back to Andrea for a minute, I remember her at a curling camp, and one of the young athletes asked her, so how do you get ready for sweeping in your off season? She says, well, I have a hardwood platform that I have in my basement, and I practice sweeping on that in my basement to get ready for the curling season.
Can you say dedicated?
That's right. Very nice shot.
Over here on sheet 5 in our women's game between PEI and Alberta, we have a quarry of rocks.
We do.
I think they agreed on a rule there'll be no takeouts this end.
So, Bill, this one, from where I'm sitting, I can't see any of that rock.
You can see about at most a third.
So Jim's playing a takeout on this rock.
I'm right in line here. It's got a chance. They do need to brush. I think he's got it. Ooh, nice shot.
That's a great shot by Jim Wilson. Just
Wow.
a great shot. That rock was mostly buried.
That's why the skips get the big dollars, Jerry.
See, that's one of those shots. You don't think about result. You think about line of delivery and weight. Let your sweepers finish the stone. Just an excellent throw from a skilled skip.
No tolerance there.
So now Fred Armstrong has got a shot in the forefoot. His desire is to hit and roll out and carry the last rock into the final end. Oh, they got to go hard in this one. Just got it. So that's end 7. We still have a 4-4 tie. Some really good draws, hit and rolls, takeouts on this end as well. So this has been a very well curled game, Bill.
Gee, if we had known this, we could have just played one end.
Yeah. Well, Jim Wilson from Saskatchewan will want to put rocks up in the front. We'll see a lot of guards, and Fred Armstrong from Alberta will try to keep the middle open. We have a couple of finals. Prince Edward Island men have finished on sheet 1. And British Columbia has won that game 7-3. We have another final in sheet 3. Northern Ontario has won that game 7-3 as well.
And we see Jim Wilson ask his lead, Daryl, to put a rock just over the hog line. He's going to want 2 guards on the center line as far apart as possible to make the double peel as difficult as possible. The defense against that with Team Alberta is to go into the house. They would have liked it top 4 foot. Now here's the tighter guard. So Skip Wilson would like this rock to come very near to the top 12 foot, but not necessarily in the house. Again, Saskatchewan wants play to the center of the sheet for obvious reasons. They have to steal to win the game.
That's working this rock. Mission accomplished.
You'll notice that there was no attempt by the Albertans to play the tick shot.
No, it's not their shot.
They've decided to go into the house.
If it's not your shot, it's not your shot. You don't want to try that if you've never practiced it. Oh, interesting development on sheet 6. Ontario was up 5-1 after 5 ends and gave up a 4-ender in the 6th end. We're tied 5-5, playing 7. We have a draw by British Columbia on our sheet. A little heavy.
Or Alberta, whatever.
Alberta. British Columbia on 6.
That's it.
Very confusing. It'll be easier next game when we only have half the number of sheets out here.
That's right. Semi-final action this afternoon.
2 o'clock.
11 o'clock in Supernatural, BC, if you're watching from the left coast.
We're going to have an opportunity to look at a different sheet this afternoon. We're going to somehow shift over to sheet 5 and broadcast that game. Interesting call.
Now we see Fred go out and start to clear off those rocks on the center line. Clearly, those are the dangerous rocks.
Jim Wilson's from Saskatchewan's got 3 rocks in good position at this point in time. The Alberta rock is behind the tee line, so he can use that. So in effect, he's got what could be called 4 guards in play for him.
And Fred Armstrong certainly senses that. As we said, he's going to start to rearrange that furniture. There's one.
I'm pretty sure it'll be replaced. So that game over in sheet 6 between Ontario and British Columbia. On the women's side, Ontario blanked the 7th end, so they're all tied up. 5-5 coming home with Ontario having hammer. We look over in sheet 8. It's another important game. Women, Manitoba and Saskatchewan, they're all tied up 3-3 after 7. So we've got some very close finishes here yet.
Now Fred Armstrong is looking at a possible double peel. He sees an angle here, the 2 yellow rocks on either side of the center line. Would be kind of tricky. A signal that perhaps this rock was delivered a little wide. You don't want to miss everything.
He's got the one.
And number 8 in a very important game on the men's championship pool, the battle for first place and everything that goes with it.
This is Third's rock. Jim's asking him for that, put that guard back in the same position. Good weight. Little tighter line on this one. May have the opportunity at the double. Oh, just missed her.
And coming across the top of that yellow rock that's closer to the house, that would be interesting because that rock would come back through the house, and you never know what's going to happen to the rocks that are already there.
So Colin Coben is throwing another center guard. Sweepers are working hard to bring this across the hog line. So that's a successful shot for Colin. So this is going to come down to the skipped rocks. Who's going to go first? Both of these teams have lots of time left, so. Okay, what's the call now, Bill?
Well, let's find out. As Jerry said, this is decision time. No more fooling around in the free guard zone. Almost impossible to get into the house on the clockwise side. Looks like everything's going to be on the counterclockwise side of the sheet.
And that's the side we've seen the most, so.
Yes, it is.
They're pretty familiar with them. So Jim Wilson, skip of Saskatchewan, has decided to make the first move. He's called for this one to come around the center, and he'd like to be a top 4 foot.
And of course, he's the skip of the team that must steal this end to win the game. So he needs to get in first.
Sweepers are working this rock. Little light.
Now advantage to Team Alberta. They have 2 shots left to Saskatchewan's 1, and Alberta, of course, has the last rock. And they are currently shot rock at about the 8 o'clock position in the 8-foot circle. Fred wants to make sure that he's got a path to the 4 foot, so he's going to attempt to clear some opposition rocks that are in the free guard zone. There will be some granite flying here, Jerry.
Yep. There's a possibility that a number of those yellow rocks could disappear.
The problem is, where's the shooter going to go? So pay attention to that. Mr. Wilson doesn't care what color the guards are.
No.
Right on the stick. And lots of weight.
That's not what he wanted.
No siree.
So we have, I don't think we have a draw here, but we certainly have 2 taps.
The tap on the clockwise side is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because he's going to have to come very close to that red rock that's out by the hog line. The port is kind of backwards, you might say. A little bit easier on the counterclockwise side from an accessibility perspective, but of course the rock that's on the just at the top of the 8 foot is a little bit more closer to the target zone, so to speak.
And that's the shot he's playing. So here's the last rock of Jim Wilson from Saskatchewan, playing the tap up in his rock in the 12 o'clock position.
And he must make this shot or it's game over.
Looks like he's got the weight. It's over curling by that guard. It's a beautiful shot. Beautiful shot.
How do you feel about the 4 foot, Mr. Armstrong?
So this is Should be a routine shot for a skip. However, this is the eighth end. It's right down the slide path. So
And
it
for all the marbles.
gives them a little bit of it's not like throwing down here for the draw to the button. There's a little more pressure on this one.
And we're on the clockwise side. This for first place. We think it's about 14 seconds. Jerry's going to time hog to hog for us. He is not wide.
Nope.
Oh, Mr. Glover's going to come out and join in.
So 14-15 is what I got on this one.
Looks pretty good.
They're working it hard. Excellent shot. Draw to the top of the button. Well played game. Alberta wins that game. By a score of 5-4. That was a well-played game. Excellent right to the last shot. Both teams, both skips made excellent shots with their last shot.
That's why they're at the top of the list.
So that moves Saskatchewan to 8-2. Northern Ontario finished at 8-2. Alberta finished at 8-2. PEI finished at 6-4. Ontario women are in a tie game at that point in time. 5-5 coming home. Ontario has last rock. They have 2 rocks to come. British Columbia has 1 to come. Currently, British Columbia is line 1. Looks like back 8 foot behind perhaps a center guard or 2. Skip Dale Curtis from Ontario is looks like she's throwing a draw. We have another really tight game over there on sheet 8 between Manitoba and Saskatchewan. We have the last rock coming down for Saskatchewan. Saskatchewan's currently lying 1 behind a couple of other rocks. Saskatchewan's playing a guard up front.
Wade looks pretty good, Jerry.
They're watching it come in the house. So Ontario currently is shot rock. It's behind the tee. British Columbia skip is indicating that she wants to draw down on top of it.
Janet Klebe, I think is her name.
That's Janet Klebe, yeah. So the Manitoba skip's going down on sheet 8. That's the women's game. The tour last rock. We have one other men's game over here finishing up as well. It's between Ontario and Newfoundland Labrador. Currently Ontario is up 5-3 coming home. So here's the last shot of BC skip Janet Klebe coming down. She needs to get this rock in for shot rock. Sweepers are watching it there.
And this Wade looks really nice. Right up to the yellow Ontario rock.
So it comes down to last rock for Dale Curtis. She needs to come down to this rock. She just threw this shot. She can duplicate it.
And we have a game just finishing on sheet 8 that was tied.
Saskatchewan wins that game by stealing one in the 8th end to beat Manitoba, give Manitoba their first loss.
Well, the last province to give out the Purple Heart was New Brunswick. The crest was the Ganong crest by the Ganong Confection Company. It's still in existence there, I think. It was a very beautiful crest. I've seen it. And they were the last province to give out Purple Hearts.
The sweepers have backed off in this last rock. Dale Curtis says they're not touching it, and it looks like it's running wide rather than wild. She throws it right through the rings, and it is a steal of one by British Columbia to win that game 6-5. Gives them a record of 6-2, puts Ontario at 6-2. I expect that, I'm not sure. We'll have to see. We'll have to check with our umpires, see what happens with who plays who for this next draw. All right, so that's a wrap up for today. We'll see you this afternoon at 2 o'clock, and after we hear from the umpires to work out who plays who, we'll see the semifinal games. Thanks very much from Jerry Sundwall and Bill Shearhart, and we'll sign on this afternoon.